here it is. It's the 1980 20 horsepower Johnson. And this engine is not much different at all than the 25 horse Johnson we were working on, even though the year model is quite a bit different. They stayed unchanged for a long time. So how I found this one was scrolling Facebook Marketplace as usual. This one popped up for $200. I sent the guy a message, asked him if he'd take $150 just to see. He said sure. It hadn't run in a while, but he got a new engine on his boat and didn't need this one anymore, and said come pick it up. So I went down there and saw this thing sitting like this, and as far as outboards go, especially when they've been sitting, this looked pretty good. So I jumped up the opportunity. But the one thing I did notice back here, that's where the tiller handle goes. No tiller handle. And if you have been paying attention to this video, you might have seen that it has shift cables and throttle cables. That's because it is set up for controls. So we have the old controls here. These were way back before, sometime in the early 70s they had these. But they still work for most OMC engines. Here's the throttle right here, and this isn't attached, so I can't really move it much. But and then here's the shift, the gear shift. So I tested it. It does work. You can see right there it moving a little bit. I don't want to put too much of a bind on it because the engine's not running or anything like that. But all the cables do work. So this is the only problem. The starter rope will not retract. It does, if you hit on it, it will, or just kind of slowly ease it back, it will. But we're gonna have to we'll have to take care of it. All right, so let's go ahead and get this cover off. And when I first pulled this cover off, because I pulled it off before I did this video, I couldn't wait. But it looks very, very clean. Not much has been messed with at all underneath here. I don't see many tool marks on the bolts, and fuel line looks to be pretty old, but I don't think it's that old because it doesn't say OMC on it. I have had some of these engines where it had OMC hoses or fuel lines still on them, but everything else looks really good. Your everything, like your basic oil stains in here that you kind of expect, but everything looks good. And getting back in here to the carburetor, the carburetor looks very clean as well. Obviously it's going to need a cleaning, I'm sure. We're going to try to fire it up first without cleaning it, just to see what happens. We might surprise ourselves, but you know, as far as the outside looks, no leaks around it or anything like that when it was put up, so that's good. The biggest problem I see is this primer right here. So these don't have chokes, if you remember from the 25 Johnson. They have these primers, and so basically what it does is it takes fuel and forces it way back into the throat of the carb. So basically it's putting fuel right at the end of the intake right there to really help it get started when it's cold. I'm guessing it was leaking at some point because there is a large, obscene amount of silicone on this thing. We're not even going to try it. What I did is one of the Facebook groups that I'm in for Johnson outboards, he races them, he rebuilds them, has hundreds of these things, and he ended up having a primer that he sold to me and shipped it to me on pretty much the next day. So we have a brand new one of those, and we'll be putting that on before we start it. But a couple things that I'm going to do, just like I always do before I start a project engine. Well, first of all, we're going to pull this off. This is the pull start mechanism, and we're gonna lubricate it, and we're gonna get everything working like it should. If we need to replace springs, we'll do that. But just so our rope will retract and we can get a good pull on it. Before I start it, we'll go ahead and pull the plugs. We're gonna check compression, make sure it has compression, because if it doesn't, there's no sense in doing any more with it. At that point, you'll have to decide what you want to do. You know, do we want to pull the motor down, or do we just want to say, nah, part it out, or whatever. But after we check compression, and if we get good compression, we'll go ahead and check for spark. Pull the plug wires off and use our spark tester. And if both of those are good, we'll put some water to it, put some fresh fuel to it, and of course our new primer right there. And we'll give it a pull, see if it'll start. I did pull it over, and it does feel like it has compression. Everything feels okay, except that the cord won't go back in after you pull it. But it feels just like a 20 horsepower Johnson should when you pull on the rope just trying to turn the engine over. So it doesn't feel like it's seizing or tight or anything like that. It just feels like it has a lot of compression pulling back on you. All right, since this is a teaser video anyway, we're not going to be diving off into it right now. I just wanted to introduce this engine and hopefully get some people interested in following this project, and then we'll go into, like I said, checking compression and all that. But first, let's pull it over just so you can see what I was talking about. It does have that it has good compression. I'm just going to wrap the rope around my hand a few times. See, it is. That feels good. And we're about out of rope. So it does, you can hear it, you know, when it goes on the exhaust stroke here at pressure and release, and I mean, it sounds good. I'm excited to get into this thing, and it's always fun to see what projects will do, especially when they were abandoned or put away for years and years for whatever reason. But these motors are, as you've seen from, you know, maybe my videos or other videos, that these motors will last forever, and even if they've been sitting, it doesn't take much to get them going again. You know, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg like it would with a fuel injected system or anything like that. Just pull the carburetor off, clean it, make sure it has spark, make sure your water pump's good, and you should have many trouble-free hours from it. All right, y'all, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss this series. We have, it's going to be a whole series dedicated to this one, just like it was the 25 horse. And the 25 horse, they're some of my best performing videos, so it seems to be what y'all like. So I brought another one on board, and we're going to dive into it. So hit that like button, subscribe button, and we'll see y'all soon. Thank you.